Welcome back to Typing Lyrics, and here in this video I'm going to talk about just the front cover of the PowerPoint, and then the titles and the Apostles' Creed and Lord's Prayer, and I'm just going to finish off with that. So let's go and start. So in the last video I talked about just choosing an image just choosing an image other than the images for the songs that we would have for the worship day. So usually there's about 4 songs that you would have for worship, and all those songs should have different background images, and especially for the front cover. And something I guess that would help would just change the front images weekly. Usually nature pictures are the best choices for these sorts of images, but right now what we do for our front covers are just keep the background images that we have every month and then switch them over and over again. And so let's do the same thing here. So this month is the month of March. So usually I could just think of 3-leaf clovers. So let's see, clovers, nature. That should narrow the choices down. So images. Now I may not want too much of the image because it's a bit distracting. Have some artistic variety in it. Okay, so this might be good. There's a good view in the front of the clover and in the back of the other clovers. This is also a good image of clovers where some of them can be seen clearly, whereas others in the background are faded out, and also light comes into it. And so just choose some good pictures. And so let's say, for example, I could use the front cover as this one, maybe. So again, I'll save the image as a file, as a file, and know your destination of where you're going to save it. So save, and there it is. Don't click it. Just open PowerPoint and then change it at PowerPoint. Format background, picture, file, and go to the destination where you saved it. And here it is. Insert, and great. So that's just the cover that I chose just for the month of March. But for you guys to get into practice and get used to putting background images, I'm going to have you guys change it up a bit weekly. And then once I can see that you guys are getting used to it, you guys can handle the more complex part of PowerPoint. So I'm gonna format my background again by right-clicking the title slide, and then here offsets, I can control that. And here, looking at this, the text is a bit blurry, so maybe either we need to change the font color, but be very careful with what you choose to fix, because it can either be text color, text size, font, or the background image. Just keep experimenting with things. So if you see here, to my feeling, it looks like there's too much clovers in the bottom. So I'm just gonna make the offset maybe about -30%. maybe a little bit more, about 50%. Okay, well, it's better, but it doesn't show as much of the roots of it, so maybe negative 40%. Okay, so then that'll be good. Now, I'll close that. Now, you guys may see it's a bit blurry. Well, here's what I'm going to be doing here. Now, if you guys see here, text shadow, select all, and then click on shadow. And you'll see the text coming out three-dimensionally a bit towards you. So that's what shadow is for. So basically, shadow, it can help you bring out the text in front. So it's a little bit small, but what I can do is perhaps go over here, shading outline, or no. So here in the format, it's best if you can look at the text outline here. And if you see that text outline kind of makes the border of the text and the image. And if you guys want, you guys can add more weight into it to outline more. So I'll select all and see how much I want to change. And you guys can look at it as you change. Now, if you keep putting more pixels of the text, then that's how much it'll cover of the borders of the text. So give a good amount that can help you see the text, but not make it too a bit strange. So maybe I might want to bold it a bit more so that I could see more white. Okay, so that looks pretty good. And same thing with the date, I'll do that. But that's just an example. I want you guys to just keep yourself occupied with. Just play around with all your resources. So also selecting the text as well. Usually there's no format tab here, so that's why there's usually a tab above it that's colored in, and sometimes that'll just give you more options. So I clicked on the slide, so now it's gone, but if I click on the text, it's there. So now I'm going to move on to the Apostles' Creed and Lord's Prayers. So I want you guys to remind yourself of the Apostles' Creed and Lord's Prayer. What those are, to me, off the top of my head, are ancient sacred text. The Lord's Prayer was spoken by Jesus himself, as we find it in Matthew, and we established the Lord's Prayer with more words into it. And so what I want you guys to think is, not only are you guys just typing up the text, but you're also, like before with every other slide, you're including the background images. So not only are we being technically proficient in Media Team, but I'm also having you guys learn how to be a bit more artistic as well. So I'm going to add a new slide, so Control M. I could do that here, but that's the hotkey. And so it's black right now because that's the background style I set it to, but I could change it back to white if I want. And that changes all the slides background images. So be careful with what you edit. So you can go back by pressing Control Z and it'll get back to you like that. But this is the way. If you can, just keep it add this theme, but just be very careful with what you choose, because if you select on one thing, you're going to have to change everything else. So that's just a warning. I'm going to undo it. So what I want you guys to think is Apostles' Creed and Lord's Prayer are very ancient text. And if I were to think, if I watched any of the movies, Bible movies, I remind myself there are people who hold up scrolls of ancient text, and that reminds me of maybe I could put kind of like an ancient scroll or text kind of background. So I'm gonna add a new tab, Control T, that's the hotkey, and I'm gonna search ancient scroll. And images, and I want background. Well, I could go to blank here. Now we don't want too much of the artistic effects, but we just want a kind of a nice background. So just look through, maybe something a little bit old looking like this, but just look through your selection and see what would look good as if it looks like ancient text. So I'm just gonna quickly choose an image that closely relates to what I might imagine it to look like. Let's choose this one here. Now I'm just going to choose that one for now, and I'll just make some edits, some save, PowerPoint, and then I'm going to put in the image, picture, file, and then here it is. Now what I'm going to do, I'm going to eliminate the unneeded parts of the image. So I'm going to make some offsets. So let's experiment with 20%. Okay, so that looks good. Okay, and then let's also make this 20%. Okay, maybe 25%. Now top maybe negative 20%. No, negative 10. Actually, negative 15. Let's try that. Now 13. Now the reason why I'm making it look a little bit cut off is because I want to make it look as if it looks like it's on a scroll, making it look like it's on ancient text. Okay, so that looks good. Alright, so let's close, and then maybe I could bring this a little bit more offset towards the left, but I'll but I have more important things to show you guys. So for Apostles' Creed, you type in Apostles' Creed, and then type in the text here, and then you guys can also search up the text. And the important thing that I want you guys to know is when it comes to Apostles' Creed and Lord's Prayer, pastors have their own preference of reciting that ancient text. So for example, Pastor Albert used to say, I believe in God, the Father Almighty, maker of heaven and earth, whereas we now say creator of heaven and earth. So everyone has different preferences, so just make sure ask your pastor. And also so let's say if I'm done with Apostles' Creed, I'm gonna use the same kind of slide. So I'm gonna copy, I'm gonna select the slide that I want, Control C, copy, and then Control V, paste. Now if you see here, I have to edit the same with the background images.